So I'm out here on my morning walk in Boulder, and this is my neighborhood. I don't know if you can see. We'll come out over here, the mountains. I love so much being here, especially these walks, because it's just so peaceful and it just feels like home. And the truth is, when me and Kimberly moved out here to Colorado about 5 years ago, I wanted to live in Boulder. We ended up in Denver, and it never really felt like me. I always had this vision to move to Boulder. And last year, when I made the decision to live what I call my level 7 life, which in theory is, it sounds very simple, but it's actually, it completely turned my life upside down in the most beautiful of ways. I had a mentor who talked about this process basically of imagining your life on a scale of 1 to 10. If your current reality is a level 5 today, you start asking yourself, what would level 7 look like? And at the time we were living in this nice home in Denver, and there's nothing wrong, but I started really feeling into level 7, and I realized that level 7 was living in this beautiful home up in the mountains here in Boulder, just having this really expansive home with super high ceilings and beautiful natural light coming through. And we decided to make that shift, and I completely uprooted my life in Denver, and we moved into this beautiful multi-million-dollar home here in Boulder. And this was before, by the way, this is actually coinciding with a major pivot in my business, because I realized when I started doing this work that the clients that the specific type of clients that I was working with at the time were not the clients who were aligned to my level 7 life. And so we made this big pivot. I made this big pivot in my business and basically shut down our group program. And so like 80% of my revenue basically like went away overnight. And we basically tripled our overhead in terms of rent. And you might look at that and you might say, Jason, you're crazy. Like, that was the dumbest decision ever. Here's what's so cool about this work. When I work with entrepreneurs and I mentor entrepreneurs, I often talk about the power of identity. It's one of the first things that we focus on when it comes to business growth, because the thing is, the business that you have is always a perfect reflection for who you are on the inside. And so the challenge that I see with so many entrepreneurs is they want to grow their business, but they do it by trying to change the business instead of changing themselves. And so I see a lot of entrepreneurs who are like, they're let's say, you're at 6 figures, you want to make 7 figures, and you're trying to, make a 7-figure business with a 6-figure identity. It just doesn't work, because the business you have is always going to be a perfect match for who you are on the inside. And so this work is so powerful because it basically allows you to shift into a different timeline and a different reality. And so I moved out here when our business, honestly, the numbers didn't support it at all. And this is actually one of the things that I think trips entrepreneurs up the most, is like, we look at the current reality, we look at the current, bank account balance, and we say like, okay, well, I can't make this investment, or I can't hire this mentor, I can't do this thing because the money that I have currently right now, or the money that I'm making in my business, doesn't support that. And it's like, well, of course it doesn't. Of course, because your current reality is the result of the decisions that you're making, and there's a momentum around that. And so you actually have to go first. That's what leadership is in business and life. If you want to create something new on the outside, you have to start by shifting on the inside. So you start asking yourself, well, and I started doing this, like, okay, what would my level 7 identity, what my level 7 self do? And this is why we moved. And what's been so cool is over the past few months in particular, there was like a void. There was definitely a void. It was a painful period, and my ego had a really hard time with it. I don't want to like frame this like it's easy work. It's actually one of the hardest things to do, because it's literally like a death and a rebirth of a self. But what's been so cool to experience, particularly over the past few months, and really over the past like 6 weeks in particular, there's just been this massive blossoming in my business. I've never had more people reaching out to me, wanting to hire me, wanting to work together. And it's so cool. We're on track to 7 figures this year in the business, like basically based on the current volume of people who are reaching out. And the business has expanded because I've expanded on the inside. And I knew that intellectually a year ago. I was like, okay, I kind of like buy into this idea. I'm going to trust it, even though it was really hard for me. But now I'm living it. And I'm seeing what happens when you start living into a new identity and a new self. And the outer reality can't help but match. It can't help but match. The business that you have, the life that you lead, is a perfect reflection of who you are on the inside. And when you start stepping into a different identity, making decisions based on that identity, acting as if you already have the thing that you want, not coming from a place of I'm trying to get something, but how would I show up if I already had it? What decisions would I make? What life would I live? And living into that today, that's when everything changes. So I'm just so grateful. I don't know if you can see the mountains behind me. You can see my hair. I need to shave today. My mom's actually coming to visit us later today. And I'm like, this is a day that I need to shave. But anyways, I wanted to share that with you and bring you into this moment because it feels even sweeter knowing like what it took to actually get there. Sending you lots of love today.